informative. Art is informative, it's illustrative, it's educative. For some people, creating art makes them happy. But for others, seeing art makes them happy. And you see, for artists, they like to put on paper what they feel, what they see, what they hear, just to create a visual representation of what it is that is in their surroundings. Today, I'm talking to one amazing visual artist. His name is Eddie, and he creates some amazing art that you look at and you're like, wow. Let us hear his story. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. My name is Eddie, Eddie Ochieng. I'm a visual artist, painter, more specifically a hyper-realism artist.
Hyper what?
Hyper-realism.
Please explain that.
If you see the kind of work I do, it's mostly pegged on details.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that will strike you about my work. So realism, hyper-realism. The idea is to bring an artwork as close as possible to reality.
Yeah, to make it look as real as possible.
Yeah, so that's the kind of art I do. Yeah.
Tell me about your history in the art world. How did you begin?
Well, I think I can say this has been a natural gift from the start, but I can actually take it back to high school, Lenny School. We had art and design. Hold
up, wait a minute. Lenny School? Is there something about Lenny School and artist?
Is it that most artists are from Lenny School, at least?
You talk to an artist, I'm from Lenny School. Anyway,
it was a good school, so most people that, went through there are doing good things. And I had a good chance to, take art, have an intro to it. What is drawing, what is painting, art, a bit of art history, just what it entails at the basic level. And then onto university, I actually took it at Kenyatta University, School of Fine Arts. So again, I did that for 4 years, and that was more in-depth, wider knowledge, more hands-on practice, and just a feel of what the industry is at a practical level. And then from there, now I took it professionally. So
it's not something that you've had since a kid, you're like, you take a paper just to draw, people like, okay, kid, you're going to be an artist.
No, it's been there, like I said in the beginning, it's been a natural gift from the start. I remember maybe in primary school, I'd be those kids who would be called when the science teacher wants to, draw something to illustrate, a plant, a landscape in geography, or like an insect in science. They'll be like, where is Eddie? And holding the chalk in their hands.
You go draw for the students.
So I'll be like, well, there's no one else, so okay. And I'll just do that. So it's just been natural to me. And I think the steps have been to, just follow it up and take it, professionally.
So how long have you been doing this professionally?
Since 2017.
2017, that's around 5-6 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And from 2017 till now, how many pieces have you been able to draw?
Wow, that would need time to, because there's pieces I do for myself, like my own creations, and then there's what you call commissions. These are paintings that are, commissioned by clients in different places, and so they're very specific. Some are portraits, some are landscapes. It's very hard to give a rough figure.
Let's say they've gotten to 100 or so, or even past.
A little, yeah.
No, that's some good work.
Okay, you can give it that figure.
So when you say commissioned, is it that a client tells you, Eddie, I want a picture of a lady in water?
Yes.
And do they give it to you, or do you just come up now with the idea of a lady in water?
It depends. Some clients have exactly what they want on canvas. Some just give you a rough idea. Well, I want something that looks like this. And then they give you the artistic freedom to come up with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let me talk about this piece. Commissioned or your own idea?
It is my own.
Tell me about it.
So there's a series I'm doing currently. It's called a water series, Crystal Clear, to be precise. And it's about showing portraiture and its interaction with water. Not just your conventional picture of a face, but something to interact with it. And this idea, I picked it up from campus. when I first did the water painting, portrait and water painting, and the lecturer was so impressed. In fact, it was so real they thought it was printed, and I was going to get a 0 in that unit. But I said, no, it's actually a painting.
So I don't know if you're going to be able to paint as we talk. They say men can't multitask, but we're going to see today. How did you know how to turn your talent, what you have, into a business?
Well, school has a part to play in that, and then there's what we call, when you actually go under someone who's been there, who's done that. There's a lecturer of mine who also practiced art professionally on the side aside from teaching, and I was under him sometime in third year for whole year, and I just got a sense of what it's about, how it works, the process of painting, dealing with clients, getting clients. So school plus that gave me a sense of how this works, and I just took it up after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you get your clients to know that these are the kind of people I'm targeting with my business?
There's a word of mouth that goes, the work speaks for itself. And then the social media, galleries. I'd say those are the 3 main ways we get the artworks, to the clients or to generally to the public. And then there's, the media part of it, publications, and interviews, something like that. Yeah. Gets the word around.
You've talked about galleries. Kenya, not a lot of Kenyans actually go for openings at galleries and the sort. Which galleries have you been able for you to showcase your work, and do people actually come in and look at it and say, I like Eddie's work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Currently I'm showing at the Circle Art Gallery.
Oh, Circle Art in Lavington.
In Lavington. Yeah. It's a show that's going on right now. It started on Thursday last week. It's going on till 10th of September. That's one of them. I have showcased at Polka Dot at Gallery. And art fairs, even though they're not happening currently, they were discontinued some time back, but I showcased a few times back. Kenya Art Fair, I think 3 times in a row. And then I've showcased in South Africa as well.
Oh.
Apart from here locally, in Cape Town. Yeah.
So even as we talk about turning your art into business, and when you start to just randomly start, how was your financial startup, the capital that you were able to put up and begin Eddie's art to showcase and everything?
The most expensive thing here, and for most artists I'd say, is the material. Paints are expensive, brushes are expensive. Sometimes you go to an art store and you look at one brush and you look at the price tag, you're like, my goodness.
It's that expensive?
Good quality material is expensive. So what I used to do is just to buy one at a time. I didn't have the capital to buy everything at a go. So if it's one piece of canvas, you buy that, and maybe you have 4 brushes that you like, I think this will be enough to, create a piece. Then from there, you just add on, and before you know it, you have a whole
set, one by one, you have the whole thing.
Yeah, so that's basically how I approached it. Apart from that, the rest of the things are just the creativity bit of it. Is what now will drive the business into something solid. Yeah. And
when you're making your pieces, do you keep in mind the pricing of which you're going to sell your pieces, and how do you determine that I'm going to sell this at this price, I'm going to sell this at that price?
Sometimes through galleries, they are able to advise sort of how your work should range. So it's a discussion. They ask, do you think this would work with the price you had in mind? And from our end also, we think if you price it too steep, you might be shooting yourself on the foot. Also, we don't want you to underprice yourself. So sort of getting a balance out of it. And then again, sometimes you just try it out. And you have to start from somewhere. There are times I would sell an artwork for 1,000 shillings when I was starting.
1,000 shillings?
You just do a drawing.
This kind of art form?
No, I wasn't. I started from afar. This just came recently because art progresses. The more you do it, the more you grow, your skill grows, your technique and your knowledge around it grows. So when I was starting, I was just doing very basic drawings of just things around me. It was not even specific to a certain theme or anything.
Yeah.
And then from there, you just grow. You say, okay, I think maybe this is worth 2,000 now, you know?
Yeah.
And you put it out there and someone actually buys. Like, okay, I think, yeah, it could be this range.
Yeah.
And then your skill progresses and then you try different types. Sort of like in a corporate world or any other person who works in an office, the more experience you have, the more value you have in the market. It's pretty much the same thing.
And with all the art that you've done, let me see, maybe since 2017, which one would you say is the most expensive piece, and why would you term it as the most expensive?
Most expensive?
And if we can talk that prices.
I don't have it here. I sold it already. I think I did this in 2018. It was a portrait of an old man, a profile portrait. Profile is where artwork is captured by the side. It's a guy I met in Nairobi, Valley Road. As I was walking, he stopped me and asked for food. And I just took a moment and I spoke with him. And a painting came out of that. So, like I said, inspiration comes in many different ways. I was so attached to that painting. But it was really good, the skill was good. So I think that was one of my best pieces, and it went for about 250.
250,000. So for a portrait, it's like, what size from here to here, or?
It was slightly smaller than this. Yeah, it was slightly smaller than this. But for my artworks, the sizes really range depending on the amount of detail that I want to put. The bigger the artwork, the more detail it's going to allow you to put.
Yeah. So when you said most of your clients come maybe even from referrals and social media. Have you ever gotten to a point you're with a client and they're telling you what they want and you're like, oh my goodness, you're so difficult to deal with? And how did you deal with that situation?
Oh, definitely. I've had clients that, give you not such an easy time. And sometimes you have to, sometimes they can actually manipulate the process to the point where the end product is not really worthy of your signature. Like what you had in mind and what you produce at the end of it is not what you were looking into. So sometimes I've had to, drop off the client and tell them, okay, if this is how we're going to work, then I don't think
we can't act like this.
We cannot work like this. In as much as you want something specific, you're actually also giving the artist or the designer the freedom to advise you, because they are the expert. You've gone to them for advice. And so some clients do not allow for that, and that brings a lot of friction. So in most cases, I stand my ground. If they're willing to do that, yes. If not, then we can move on to the next.
Well, you're going on a short break, but we'll be right back talking to EDDY, who is an amazing, amazing visual artist. See you soon.
The industry in Kenya is growing in leaps and bounds. From bungalows, mansionettes, high-end apartments, all the way to mixed-use developments such as malls and mall residency. Well, how do you all break it down? Right here on TV47, we bring you The Realtor with me, Karanja Daniel, where we analyze the property industry right here in Kenya and bring you the latest from all the professionals that are involved, from architects, engineers, surveyors, as well as the construction experts themselves.
The property industry has shifted from where it was some years back.
It is very endearing to family people. Yes. Because you want your kids to grow up in a nice environment.
Real estate is an asset, a secured asset, guaranteed asset.
Do not miss out every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m.
What does it take to be an alpha male? Is it by expressing your emotions?
So men, we're human beings, and we also have emotions, and we're also weak at some point. that nigga out.
Mimi nilienda nikaingia ndani ya maji ya bahari ili watu wasijue nalia.
So ni water.
Kidogo kitoka hivi mtu anasema ni maji, kumbe ni machozi.
Machozi tu.
Is it how you treat your significant other?
You're beaten once. The man is a fool. When it happens twice and you're still there.
Welcome back to The Grind. I've been talking to EDDY Ochieng, who is a visual artist who brings reality into art using his brushes and using his oil paints. He brings reality into art. So we've been talking about his history of art, how he came into being and making this as a business, which actually not a lot of artists actually put it through. So when we are talking about artists, we are going into the digital world because technology is taking over. And there are some art pieces that actually people draw with machines, they just draw them on different canvases. Do you think this is something that is affecting you who use your hands to draw even the smallest of the details?
No, I don't think it affects it in any way, or I don't see any challenge there, because traditional art will always have its space in the world, not only like in the art space in Kenya. If you look at how art is used, it's basically to brighten up a space, and the spaces will never go out of, you know. So this will always have its space, and what I normally say is there's enough for everyone out here. So the guy who's doing, you know, machine or digital will have his part, his clients. There's enough for everyone.
And do you think that technology is helping out in people who use traditional methods to make their art?
In the making process, not necessarily. Although I would like to say maybe in mural painting, where you have, you know, artworks done in very big spaces, it would come in handy when it comes to sketching. For instance, they would project an image and sketch from that. But apart from that, I don't think so.
Yeah. Now that you've talked about the mural artist, how different would you say you are from a mural artist, or are you also a mural artist?
I've done a mural or two before. I think we're pretty much the same. The only difference is the surface we're working on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they can also use, but I see them using the spray paints and not the brushes.
Yes. They can also interchange, because I've done that before. You know, a mural, I've used a brush and I've used a spray paint all in one piece. Yeah, so that the material doesn't really make much of a difference. I think for me the only big difference is the surface that we're working on. Maybe on canvas it will be slightly smaller, and on a mural it's a huge. It's a huge. And then maybe in a mural you'd work with a team. Vis-a-vis on canvas where you just do it personally. Yeah.
How different would you say your art pieces are when it comes to drawing? You say this is more complicated than this one. What makes an art piece complicated to draw or even to paint more than the other one?
Details. There are some that are not so detailed, and there's some are strikingly detailed. So that for me, even for myself and the artworks I create, there's some I look at and I think this is definitely different from all the others, because maybe I've gone a notch higher in putting very intricate details. An example would be, you see the pattern in a sweater?
Yeah.
The woven.
Yeah.
If I paint that, then of course that's taking it a notch higher. Yeah.
And would you say that this art has been able to help you invest in something in your life apart from the art world? Putting this painting art into business, has it helped you outside the art world?
Yeah, definitely. Because this is my career. This is what I'm doing full time. So any other thing financially I've been able to do from this, it's been from the start. Of course, you know, the African setup, African parents. Of course, you'd at the time you want to branch into art, we're like, are you sure about this? It's going to. Yeah, are you sure you're going to make it? But you know, just braving through that, I've been able to see a significant growth in myself personally and finances, and I've been able to progress myself in many other ways. Yeah.
And when in a business, there's no business without challenges. What are some of the challenges that you faced as an artist and making this into a business?
One of the challenges is there's not an art-loving culture locally. It's not as vibrant as it is maybe in Europe or these other places.
Kenyans have not embraced it as much.
Yes, they're trying, but they're not there yet. So I'd say that's a big challenge. So maybe you look at a client base you're looking at is very slim. And maybe if you don't know how to play a game, you might lose out on the cake. Yeah. So that's a challenge. If you look at an exhibition, for instance, a number of people will just come to look and say, wow, that's nice. And then they go, you know?
That's nice.
Yeah. But actually guys who, you know, are interested in actually purchasing and being a collector, you know, which is maybe a long-term client you have. Those are very few locally here. Yeah.
And what would you say are some of the highlights that you as EDDY have faced that have been brought up maybe because of this industry that you're in?
I'd like to go back to my South Africa visit. There's an art festival I went to at a place called Franschhoek in Cape Town. A beautiful place. That I was just sent for an email. We've seen your work here and here and would like to have you over. And that was such a really good opportunity to meet, you know, like-minded people, artists, people in the art business. That was one of my greatest highlights. And even just currently the show that I'm having at the Circle Art Gallery. It's a big moment for me. It's the first time I'm exhibiting there, so I like it. And just the stakeholders around the exhibition, and it's been amazing. And then in April, a few months ago, I won an award by the Gotv Art Center. It's called Manjano, and it's held annually. So this year I was the winner, and that was a great thing for me. It's an achievement that I'm proud of. Yeah.
A winning award is not a small thing, actually. Yeah. Yes. And when you're talking about business, how are you able to market your art and market yourself as an artist so people can actually come to you and not consider other artists?
Well, for art, and I think probably any other business model, you need to know how to speak about your product or your company or what you do. So I think that's the first step, even in the art industry, knowing how to talk about your art, because this is what will, you know, have someone look keenly into you just beyond the wow, it looks nice. Something like, you know, an engaging conversation. So I do this through social media a lot. Just putting my content out there, sending emails, and this is how I get feedback from that. Yeah.
And how have you been able to deal with the competition? Because right now in Kenya, a lot of people are coming up. I'm a visual artist, I draw this. The competition actually is just coming up. How are you able to deal with that?
My take would be the only way to beat competition is being authentic. Because art is unique, the way music is unique. There are people who will prefer this artist who has this music versus the other. And doesn't mean one is weaker than the other, it's just preference. But if an artist tries to maybe copy someone else so that, because the other person looks like they're getting you know, a lot of traction, then they lose authenticity and they don't have any value for their work or for themselves. So the only way to beat competition is to stay authentic and true to your style and to be persistent.
So for most people who do business, and when it comes to something like art, they usually look at someone's art and they're like, maybe like the Van Gogh, and you're like, this is the person that I want to get to. Is there a person that you look up to in the art industry?
Yes. There's a South African artist called Philip Mbalo, though we don't do exactly the same thing, but just the level they've reached in their skill, it's amazing, and I look up to that. I hope I would meet them one day. And there's other hyperrealism artists, Philip Weber, just to mention a few. Very good, very good at their skill, and you know, just the general aura they have with their work and how far they've gone. Those are people I really look up to.
So for you, art has been able to sustain you. But for some people, there are maybe people who draw and then they maybe like sell one piece a year and they're like, you know what? Art is not for me. Have you ever reached to a point and you're like, Eddie, stop drawing, just go back. Let's do something else.
Well, yes, and even for myself, I was there at some point. I wouldn't say it's particularly to art only. Any other thing any other business you decide to do, you'll get to a point where you're like, why am I doing this? Because you're not seeing any returns, no clients, nothing is moving whatsoever. But that's where the resilience comes in. Just knowing that everything good is built. So you persevere through those moments that, it's quiet and silent and maybe nobody's noticing your art. You just keep doing it regardless. That's where the entrepreneurship bit, comes out.
Yeah. What will you say to that person who is at home and they're like, I want to start art, but you're an overthinker, you're just criticizing yourself. What word would you say to them?
Actually, most artists are their self-critics.
Yeah, I look at your piece and like, no.
And most of them are introverts. So maybe they would paint something like, I'm not sure I want to showcase this around people. Maybe they fear the criticism. But for you to actually be great at it, you need to allow yourself to be out there. And art is good enough only when it's seen. You don't paint it and put it under your bed because no one will notice it. It's made for people to see. So I'd like to urge anyone who's thinking to go into this to be fearless. Go beyond the criticism or the self-doubt. It'll always be there, whether it's in the art or any other thing you decide to do. But the thing is just braving through that. Yeah.
Give us your parting shot as we close.
Parting shot, life without art would be depressing. So embrace art and be positive about it, and you'll make the world a better place. Yeah.
Well, that is all the time that we had for you today. They say art makes the world a better place, a happy place actually. Well, until next time when you get to meet another business, another entrepreneur, my